My name is Jin Park, today's GIC Talk host, and I'm glad to sit here as a host. Before we get started, please turn off your cell phone or put it on silent mode. Thank you. So let me introduce you to Edgardo Torres, today's GIC Talk speaker, and his talk is entitled Vegetarian Nutrition, Essentials You Should Know. And what Edgardo will share is this. Will help us all transition towards receiving on board vegetarian-oriented nutrition. When you first arrive, you should have received a slip of paper, and you are welcome to write your question, which will be answered by Edgardo during our Q&A portion of today's lesson talk, and it will be led by one of our English-speaking GIC talk volunteers. So, now without any further hesitation, please welcome Edgardo Torres with a big applause.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you today? Not hot anymore, huh?
Still warm.
Still warm?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's go straight into our talk. Before we go into that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. As I was introduced, my name is Edgardo Torres. I come from Puerto Rico, USA. It's a nice little island in the Caribbean. It's always summer, we don't have winter, snow. It's always green, a lot of mangoes and pineapples, right? It's a nice place. I've been living in Asia for the last 6 years and a little bit more. I originally came to Asia through Korea. I was an English teacher here from 2008 to 2011. I was a teacher in the Samyu Hagwon Institutes. I taught in 4 different cities. I was called to go to Japan in 2011, where I worked as a pastor of an international church, and I was recently brought to Korea again. And that is what has me stand you in front of you this afternoon. Okay? Our topic for this afternoon is entitled Vegetarian Nutrition. Essentials you should know. Essentials you should know. So, I have a couple of questions for you. What do you know about vegetarianism? This to get you started, right? Review what you know about the topic. Why do people choose to be vegetarians? Right? Excuse me? Okay. Why are you vegetarian if you are? Why are you vegetarian? Right? And if you're not, why are you not a vegetarian? Okay? Any talk or any presentation is effective only in the measure that it gets people thinking about the topic, right? So we want to engage. What are your thoughts on the topic? Why or why not? Okay? What are your expectations for this seminar? Well, some people might think that we are going to hear some criticism. Oh, you're not vegetarian, so you're going to be sick and and that's not the right thing to do, and you're a horrible person. Or you might think, well, we are here to criticize those who are vegetarian. Well, neither one. I don't really enjoy criticizing people for their beliefs or their positions, right? Are we here to attack those who are or are not vegetarian? Well, we're neither here for that. So what are we here for? We are here to share. I am here to share. What am I going to share? I'm going to share with you part of the knowledge that I have acquired through experience. I was mentioning to, I think it was Alicea, that I've been vegetarian for the last 20 years plus. Vegan, actually. So, when you spend so much time being vegetarian, you learn a couple of things, and I want to share what I've learned, and I want to share what I've experienced, right? Along with some additional information. We want to see, are there any vegetarians in history? It seems like vegetarianism is something that is just coming up in the last maybe decade, right? Recently. Well, not really. We have a lot of people that have been vegetarians. We have some of the names here. Pythagoras, considered by many the father of modern math, right? We have Plutarch, historian. We have Tertullian, Origen, who were both philosophers and theologians in the Dark Ages. Leonardo da Vinci, he doesn't need too much of an introduction either. We have John Wesley, Benjamin Franklin, Richard Wagner, Tolstoy, a very famous author, Thoreau, an American philosopher, very influential as well. Ellen White. We have here William and Catherine Booth. These were the founders of what we know today as the Salvation Army. Okay, Bernard Shaw, a very famous playwright, H.G. Wells, Mahatma Gandhi, Schweitzer, and we have Albert Einstein as well. So we have a very interesting list of vegetarians in history, don't you think? Now, people are vegetarians, but there are other groups that are also vegetarians. Okay, so let's see quickly what are these groups. We have Buddhists are vegetarians, except for oyster sauce, right? We have Muslims. Muslims also do not eat pork or pork-related products, right? We have also, we have Catholics. It says here that they used to recommend meat Fridays. It depends on the country. If you go to a for example, a Hispanic country, it's still recommended. They abstain from meat and they only eat fish. So it depends where you live, all right, and the culture that you're immersed in. We have here animal rights groups are often vegetarians. That is, I think, self-explanatory. We have Seventh-day Adventists, and this is the only religious group, so far as I know. This is the only religious group that does it, besides for religious reasons, also for health reasons. Most religious groups that are vegetarians, they do it because of spiritual reasons. We do it for both, spiritual and physical. Okay? And we have, in the 60s and the 70s, there was a boom, a resurgence of vegetarianism around the time when people talk about the hippies and the resurgence of rock music and against the protests in USA against the Vietnam War and all these things, is when vegetarianism started to come up again, to get renewed interest. Now, what about adequacy of vegetarianism? It says here that these people here, the World Cancer Fund American Institute for Cancer Research, they say that we must choose most of the foods that we eat from plant sources. Okay? We should eat 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables each day. Not once a week, not once a month, but each day. We should include fruits or vegetables in every single meal. And we should include grain products in every meal. We should choose beans as an alternative to meat. Now, if I were telling you this, well, probably it wouldn't be too much of a big deal. But knowing the high incidence of cancer nowadays, this information coming from these two institutions that actually deal with cancer patients and cancer research, I think it's a piece of information that it's worthy to be considered seriously, right? Okay, excess mortality from lack of plant foods. It has been discovered that the low intake of fruit and vegetables is estimated to cause about 19% of gastrointestinal cancer. To break it down, that's also talking about colon cancer, intestine cancer, stomach cancer, right? 31% of ischemic heart disease. Ischemic heart disease is basically cholesterol plaques. They stick to the walls of your arteries and your veins, and they narrow the space through which your blood flows, and that conduces to what they call CHD, coronary heart diseases, and all those other chronic heart conditions. Okay, it's estimated that it's about responsible for about 11% of strokes worldwide. All right, and I think most of us have known at least one person, or have heard about one person who suffered a stroke. 3.3, am I right? I can't see one from here. 2.5. 7.5 million deaths are attributable to low fruit and vegetable intake. That is a very, very large number. Just because there is a low fruit and vegetable intake. Okay? Now, what are the reasons for us to be vegetarian? Right? Well, let's see. We have here, there are religious reasons. There are also ethical reasons. There are also health reasons. There are environmental reasons, or ecological reasons. And we have the animal welfare. Nowadays there are many organizations and NPOs that are very concerned about the abuse that animals are suffering. And there's a lot of videos and information running on the internet, filming of what exactly is factory farming, right? We also have economical reasons. So being vegetarian has many, many facets, many reasons for which we should choose or not choose, right? Now, there are many types of vegetarians too, and there's a lot of classifications running around. So I just put the most general ones, right? We have the Lacto-Ovo Vegetarian. These are people that don't eat any kind of flesh, no meat, as in beef or pork or anything like that, no chicken, no fish, but they do eat dairy products and they do eat egg-related products. Okay, those are Lacto-Ovo Vegetarians. We have Ovo-Vegetarians. Those are people that only eat eggs, no meat, no dairy products, and vegetables and fruits or grains. Okay, Ovo-Vegetarians. Right? We have the Lacto-Vegetarian. Those are the people that eat dairy products, vegetables and fruits, but they don't eat animal flesh. Okay? And we have the complete vegetarian. These people, they don't eat any animal products, they don't consume dairy, they don't eat eggs, so that means no cheese, no milk, no yogurt, none of these things, right? An interesting fact is, most of these people, and that word I'm using it loosely, most of these people don't use animal products even on their clothes. So no leather bags, no leather belts, no leather shoes, right? So as we go through our seminar this afternoon, I would advise, try to see if you fit in one of these categories, because maybe, just maybe, you are actually a kind of vegetarian, but you still don't know it, right? Okay, so let's move on. Now, intakes of protein, fat, carbohydrates, cholesterol, and fiber. Give me just a second, please. Very quickly. There we go. Okay. Alright. My position over here doesn't allow me to see very well the screen, so I'm going to try to follow over here. Okay, here we are. Now, you will see we have 4 columns. Nutrients, we have non-vegetarians, we have Lacto-Ovo Vegetarians, and complete vegetarians. Let me try to explain this as simple as possible. Studies have found, based on the USDA RDA, United States Department of Agriculture recommended daily allowances, or now it's known as recommended daily intake, right? Says that it was found that 34 to 38% of the total calorie intake of a person is actually fat. These are numbers obtained from USA, okay? But they're pretty much standard around the West, right? 34 to 38%. That's almost half of what you eat in a day is full of fat, okay? Now, that amount is very similar to the Lacto-Ovo Vegetarian. But when you go to the complete vegetarian, then the amount of fat drops. Not a lot. And you might think, well, why doesn't it drop so much? They don't eat meat. Well, but vegetarians do eat oil. And oil, depending on how much you eat and what kind of oil you eat, may provide a lot of fat or less fat. Okay? We have cholesterol. The recommended daily intake in USA by the USDA is 300 to 500 grams per day. Now, I discovered that cancer organizations, they say that 200 grams per day is too much. They actually say that 200 grams puts you in the borderline of CHD, coronary heart diseases. So if we have organizations that deal with patients, with cancer patients on a regular basis saying that 200 is too high, I would say that 300 is way too high. Okay? Now, we have here carbohydrates. 50% or less of a person's daily diet is carbohydrates. If you are a non-vegetarian, if you are a lacto-ovo, it's about the same, and if you're a vegetarian, about the same. Carbohydrates are basically the amount of food that you eat to obtain energy. These are energy units. Let me step back a little bit and point out. If you notice, under cholesterol, how much cholesterol does the diet of a vegetarian person have? 0. And we all know, information and research has told us, and doctors have been telling us, that cholesterol is a very, very big factor in heart disease and many other things. So if you have 0 consumption of cholesterol, that means you have very high chances of living longer and healthier. But that's later, right? We also have 10 to 12 grams per day of dietary fiber, non-vegetarians. 20 to 35 lacto-ovo, and 25 to 20 complete vegetarians. Now notice please, the 300 grams of cholesterol with 10 to 12 grams of fiber. If you have a lot of cholesterol that is contributing to clog your arteries and your veins, and at the same time you have a very low fiber intake, that translates into a train wreck waiting to happen. Your body cannot process all the fat, all the cholesterol. It clogs. It cannot process the toxins, right? So, it is recommended to have a high intake of fiber. Protein, 14 to 18, those who are non-vegetarians. 12 to 14, those who are lacto-ovo. And 10 to 12, those who are complete vegetarians. Now, there is a lot of information going around and a lot of myths about proteins and vegetarianism. We'll go to that later as well. We will see that even though there is a low intake for vegetarians, there's a lot more than just the amount of protein that you eat. Okay? And of course, animal protein, which is the last one. Non-vegetarians have a high intake. Lacto-ovo have a lesser intake. And incomplete vegetarians have no intake because, well, no eggs, no milk, no dairy products, no meat, so there's 0 intake, right? We continue. Now, what are the most well-known biological benefits of vegetarianism? We have several here. Reduced risk of heart attacks, lower blood pressure, control of diabetes. Does anyone here have diabetes? Any kind of diabetes? Well, vegetarianism might help you control your diabetes, right? Cancer prevention. Cancer is like the word, the news of the day everywhere. Seems like almost wherever you turn around to, there's someone with cancer. Okay? Elimination of toxins from the body. Easier digestion of food. Overall health improvement. Longer average life expectancy. You want to live longer? You might want to consider to be vegetarian. Right? Okay. Now, if we put all these together in categories, we can find this. Less chronic disease, economic benefits, ecological and environmental reasons, longer life, easier to meet dietary recommendations. Okay? So we're going to take these one by one. Less chronic diseases. Heart disease, cancer, obesity, and diabetes. Now, a lot of this information you have in your plastic sleeve, and we put copies that you can follow through, right? Let's see, what about heart disease? All these quotes that I am giving you are quotes from medical journals. This is academic information. Serious research has been done to reach these conclusions. Okay? So what do we have here? Studies show that non-vegetarians versus vegetarian men in their 40s and before their 50s had 4 times the death rate for heart disease. Okay? Those in their late 50s and 60s had only twice the death rate. Now, why the difference? Well, there's something that we know as stress. When you're in your 40s and your 50s, you're at the peak of stress in your life. Your job and your family and your concerns and your worries and all that adding on to the way that we eat and the way we live contributes to a higher death rate. But when you're in your 50s and your 60s, you're like taking it slowly and not so stressed, maybe you're retired or about to retire, right? And it has been discovered that when meat is used once a week or more, fatal coronary heart disease rate increased by 50%. That is a serious statistic. Eating meat once a week increases by half your chances of a heart attack. Now, I don't know you, but I don't like the idea of having a heart attack. Right? Okay, we move on. Death from ischemic heart disease is lower in vegetarians. The possibility of you developing so much cholesterol in your veins and your arteries that will cause you a heart disease or a heart attack are lesser if you have a vegetarian diet. Lacto-Ovo and complete vegetarians have a lower mean blood cholesterol. I think that term is self-explanatory. Lower in, where is it? Mean blood cholesterol. That is cholesterol that is not good. There are 2 types of cholesterol. You get that from avocados and other stuff like that. But the LDL is the one that we don't want. So when you eat meat once a week, or when your diet is more inclined to the dairy products and animal products, your LDL is going to be higher. Okay? Now, vegetarian diets are not low in fat. They're not necessarily low in fat because of the oils and the nuts and some of the processed products that are coming on now. But because we have a high fiber consumption and we have soy proteins that are rich in antioxidants and isoflavones, it compensates. It helps the body compensate. Okay? Regulate itself. Now, hypertension. Vegetarianism gives you the benefit of having a lower blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic. Okay? Systolic is the blood pressure when your heart is beating. And diastolic is the pressure when your heart is in rest. Okay? Lower rates of hypertension, right? And possible collective effect of beneficial compounds from plant foods. We say possible. Why do we say possible? We're talking about phytochemicals, which are naturally occurring compounds. Two or more elements get together in a food. Alright? And we have isoflavones. Isoflavones are another kind of flavonoid, another kind of biological compounds that happen naturally in foods. Phytochemicals, isoflavones, some of them they give food the taste. When you take the pepper in your hand and you bite it, now the taste to your stomach. And have more than double the risk of stomach cancer. I was here 3 years ago. I don't know if it's changed much, but I do know that Korea had a very serious stomach disease problem. A lot of cancer occurrence and gastroenteritis and ulcers. So this may be, I don't know, this may be one of the reasons why there's such a high incidence of this in Korea, right? Now, but this is compared to those eating a healthy diet. That would be a diet low in meat, low in animal products, most likely a vegetarian, right? Okay, cancer risk factors. High calorie density foods. Meat, desserts. Those desserts, huh? And the ice cream, and the cake, right? And the heavy syrup and the heavy cream, right? So good. Lack of fiber is another cancer risk factor. High animal fat, lack of phytochemicals, which I explained previously, right? Non-vegetarians produce more bile acids. Your stomach is an acid factory. And the acids in your stomach, those are the ones that make possible digestion. They eat up and they disintegrate all that food. When you're a vegetarian, your stomach produces more, so digestion is easier and smoother. That means that the feeling that you're bloated and that you're always full, vegetarians don't have it as much as people that are not vegetarian. Okay? Lack of vitamin C and carotenoids is also another factor for cancer risk. And carcinogenic substances such as nitrates. Now, I stop here. Nitrates are virtually harmless before they enter the body. But when they enter the body, they turn into nitrites. And those are cancer-causing. Now, what are nitrites and where are they found? These hot dogs that they sell around, especially in festivals, they're like barbecue or broil, that has a lot of nitrates. When you eat it, it turns into nitrites or nitrites, right? That kind of food has a lot of these things, okay? Now, cancer. Vegetarians have lower overall cancer rate, not clear what extent is connected to diet. We do know that diet has an impact on the cancer risk, being higher or lower. Exactly what is the connection or how much, we don't really know. Okay? And again, high fiber intake, right? Higher intake of phytochemicals and isoflavones creates anti-cancer effects. The more vegetables you eat, the more fruits you eat, the higher your defenses will be against cancer and the lower the risk of cancer or related diseases. Okay? What about obesity? Obesity. Lower body mass index. This information is in your leaflets, right? Basically, it's a form of measuring if you are underweight or overweight, right? Mean body mass index is highest in meat eaters. In English, the more meat you eat, the more overweight you will be. The more fat you have, the more cholesterol you have, right? Vegetarians consume lower animal fat, higher fiber, lower alcohol amounts, and greater amounts of vegetables. So, you can see the balance in the difference, right, between those two diets and how it affects obesity. What about diabetes? Diets that are more plant-based reduce risk of type 2 diabetes. Okay? Lower body mass index of vegetarians and higher fiber intake improve insulin sensitivity. I'm not going to go over all these things in detail, but the benefits of vegetarianism against chronic diseases has been researched and proved. It makes you wonder if there's so much information out there, medical information, why does it seem like people are like it's still being pushed that meat is a healthy thing to do, that animal products are a healthy thing to do? Makes you wonder. What about ecological and environmental benefits? This is interesting. It takes more land to grow food for animals than it takes to produce food for mankind. Okay? So if the land that is being used to produce food for animals, so they could be used for food, was used for growing food for us, the hunger problem would be very strongly impacted in a positive way. More people will have more food. Hunger will be less. Okay? Oh, the computer's not connected. Can I pass over? Joey, can you connect it for me? Okay. Much of our agricultural land is used to grow grains for animal feed. 6.5 times more grains are grown to feed livestock than people. We're growing more food to feed animals than to feed ourselves. Okay? It takes 15 times the amount of water to produce a pound of beef protein compared to a pound of grain protein. The water that is being used to raise animals for us to eat, that is more expensive than using water to grow fruits, vegetables, and grains. We would spend a lot less money being vegetarian oriented than being meat consuming oriented or animal product consuming oriented. Okay, is it connected over here? Oh, now you go. What about economical benefits? Thank you. Grains and vegetables provide a greater amount of nutrients for the doll than any other food group. Okay, I'll cut this short. Sugar and meat. They give you less nutrition for your money than fruits and vegetables. Okay? Vegetables, they may be a little bit more expensive depending on when you buy them, but you get more nutrition. And at the end of the day, why do we eat? Because it tastes good or because we want to be healthy. Right? Now, it gives us a longer life as well. Longevity is extended. Seventh-day Adventists are among the longest lived population group that has been well studied scientifically. In Loma Linda, California, there is an institution, there's a hospital, Loma Linda Adventist Hospital. And there have been numerous studies conducted on the population of Loma Linda and surrounding areas. And it has been found that these people live longer than most other people in USA. And among Adventists as well, there have been studies conducted, and those Adventists that are vegetarian live longer than the Adventists that are not vegetarian. Okay? Okay. It's easier being vegetarian to meet nutritional needs. This is one of the biggest myths that we find around. When I turned vegetarian 20 years ago, my dad told me, "You're going to die. We have to eat meat." Well, either he was very wrong, or there's a miracle, because I still feel like I'm alive. Okay? It's easier, and we'll see how it's easier. Right? We have a list. All these things you have in your handouts. You have vegetarian food sources for each one of those things. Okay? So, let's go quickly over this. Protein. An assortment of plant foods contains all the essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are nutrients that are needed for growth and development. You cannot live without them. but there are also another group that is non-essential amino acids that your body uses them, but they're not essential to live in the short term. In the long term, if you don't have it, it affects you. But in the short term, it's not too bad if you don't have it. Okay? When meat started to be promoted as the panacea of getting all your nutritional needs, it was promoted as you could find all the proteins and the amino acids you needed in meat. Right? That is more or less true. What has been discovered is that even though you can get all those things from one source, you're also getting a lot of other things that are not healthy and that are creating more problems than the benefit that it's bringing. Okay? Now, being vegetarian requires you to eat a little bit more intelligently, more wisely. You have to learn how to combine the things that you eat so you can get the nutrition that your body needs. Okay? Now, don't go around saying, oh, Edgardo Torres said that people that eat meat are not smart. I didn't say that. Right? Don't go around saying that. I said that it requires you to eat a little bit more intelligent, do more research, be a little bit more educated, right? Go a little bit out of your way. Instead of going to Loteria, right? Maybe then you go to a salad bar, right? Okay. Okay, recommendations for protein intake. According to the USDA RDI, is 46 grams per day for women and 56 grams per day for men. One piece of chicken is enough for the protein of the whole day. One piece, more than enough. Now, when you see people eating chicken, how much chicken do they eat? One piece? I don't think so. Right? I know people that eat a whole chicken. Okay? When you go eat kakabi, really? One piece of chicken? It's too good, huh? Tastes too good. Okay. Now, good sources for protein. Beans, tofu, veggie burgers, meat, substitutes, peanut butter, nuts, and dairy products. Okay? Iron. Plant foods contain only non-hem iron. I'm going to stop here for a moment quickly. There are two kinds of iron. Hem iron and non-hem iron. Now, you might be thinking, what in the world is hem iron and non-hem iron? Well, I hope I get this right. Non-hem iron is found in plants. Hem iron is found in animal products. They call it hem iron because it is attached to a hem protein. A hem protein is a fancy name for a protein that has one metal ion inside of it. That's all it is, right? Now, the thing is that hem iron, which is easily found in abundance in animal flesh, is very easily absorbed by the human body. Whereas the non-hem iron, it's a little bit more difficult to absorb. Right? But vitamin C enhances iron absorption. So if you don't eat meat and you only eat plant, but you have enough vitamin C, the difficulty of absorbing hem iron is not a big problem. Right? Calcium and dairy foods decrease iron absorption. Right? So if you're a vegetarian, but you're eating too much calcium and too much dairy, then you have a problem. So you see, there's supposed to be a balancing of everything. Right? Okay? So if you are vegetarian and you are having problems with iron absorption, then you can take calcium supplements between meals. If you are growing too much, you can take calcium supplements to decrease your intake. Right? Okay, iron deficiency causes for anemia among vegetarians is similar to that of non-vegetarians. Oh, you need iron and you're not vegetarian, so you're not getting enough iron. That is not true. It's the same in both groups. Not a difference, okay? Okay, we move on. Nutrition considerations for vegetarians. Zinc. Animal protein is believed to enhance zinc absorption through deficiency not seen in Western vegetarians. And it is important for normal growth. Zinc is important for Mona and for Leo. And for me, those of us who are still young and growing, it's important for us. Okay? You get it from soybean and other beans. You get it from whole grains, from nuts, from seeds, from breads, better sources of zinc. These are talking about whole wheat breads. Not the white bread you find everywhere and that is so cheap. Okay? What about calcium? Calcium, contrary to what many people believe, is found in many plants. Oh, you don't drink milk? Oh, you're going to get osteoporosis. And you're not going to get your calcium. Not true. Sesame seed contains more calcium than a glass of cow milk. Alright? In my home, we are vegetarians. I've been vegetarian for 20 years. My wife has been vegetarian for 8 years. The kids as well. We're totally fine. Okay? Most people do not get enough calcium unless they use fortified foods or supplements. Okay? Calcium intake in Lacto-Ovo, comparable to non-vegetarians. Calcium is well absorbed for some leafy greens, soy products, dairy foods, fortified foods, and food supplements. These are some of the sources for calcium. You have them in your handouts as well. Vitamin D. Basically, vitamin D is obtained by being exposed to the sun. Basically. If you get enough exposure to the sun, I think it's like 15, 20 minutes, half hour a day, your body produces vitamin D naturally. Okay? Sunscreen. Sunscreen interferes with the production of vitamin D. If your body is not receiving the right amount of sunlight because of the sunscreen, you're going to have problems with that. Okay, so be careful when you use these products, especially in summer when you go to the beach or when you go hike. Right? These are good sources of vitamin D. Fortified cereals, fortified soy milk, fortified orange juice, egg yolks, and cow milk. Okay? Korea has no problem with this. You find soy milk everywhere. And very, very affordable. Back in my country, one of these little boxes of milk can cost you $3 or $4. Very, very expensive. Here it's very cheap. So I say Korea is a soy milk haven. Very easy to find. Okay? What about vitamin B12? There's a lot of myth about this too. The truth is, like it says here, unless fortified, no plant foods contain significant vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is important and necessary for your nervous system. Okay? No plant foods contain a good amount. So maybe you're thinking, okay, well I got you there. I have to eat meat. Well, not necessarily. Because there are many fortified foods, right? That contain B12. Lacto-Ovos get it from dairy and eggs, right? Absorption is best in small amounts. Frequent interval. A big intake of vitamin B12 doesn't do you any good. Your body processes what it needs, and what it doesn't need, it just gets rid of it. Where can we get vitamin B12? Well, we have yeasts. I used to believe that I can find it in seaweed. Well, not even seaweed has it. Okay? So, yeast extract or yeast brand like Vegemite or Red Star Vegetarian Support Formula, you found that in the USA, right? Different kinds of yeast, you can find vitamin B12. Okay, these products you can find in international stores and online as well. You can buy them. Okay, vitamin A is preformed only in animal foods, right? But vegetarians get this because when they eat beta-carotene, for example, carrots and that kind of thing, the body processes it and it turns it into vitamin A. Okay? Cooking with small amount of fat may help beta-carotene absorption. Little oil, little fat, it helps the body absorb it better. Okay, where can I find vitamin A? Oh, that was apricots, cantaloupe, mango, pumpkin, butternut squash, sweet potatoes. Korea has a lot of sweet potatoes everywhere, right? Spinach is easy to find there too. Carrots as well. Pumpkin. So you have a lot of sources for vitamin A here in Korea. Okay? Now, just because it's vegetarian, is it healthy? Oh, so these are organic cookies. I can eat 2 dozen because they're healthy, right? Or, oh, this is vegetarian cake. Oh, give me a whole cake. It's vegetarian, it's okay, it's healthy. I'm sorry to break it to you, but no. You can't do that, alright? Cookies, chips, and sweetened cereals are not healthy. If you do that in excess, and depending what it is made of. Right? Using a cookie that they use white sugar to make is not the same as a cookie that they use brown sugar to make. It's not the same as a cookie that use honey to be made. Right? It depends on the ingredients and the amounts. Right? Just because you like 7-Up, you don't go eat a whole box of, you don't drink a whole box of 7-Up, right? So the same thing with everything else. Loading up on high-processed vegetarian food is not healthy. Oh, this is veggie meat, so it's cool. We can go with it, and you eat it 4 times a day, the whole box. Hello, not going to work. Most of these vegetarian meats, especially the frozen ones and the canned ones, they are very high in sodium. So you have to be careful. It's not just because it's a vegetarian, it's what it has inside. Personally, I do not recommend canned foods, no matter if they're vegetarian or not. Too many preservatives, too many things that are not good. Frozen foods are a little bit better. They're more expensive, but they're better. But you have to be careful. Okay? Now, being a healthy vegetarian means loading up on lots of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Basically, it means that most of us will have to relearn how to eat. Okay? Now, there have been some changes in the way that this nutrition thing has been understood. And from a pyramid, now you will see has moved on to the design of by plate. Fruits, grains, vegetables, protein in one same meal. Okay? Now, okay. Now, do you want to experience less chronic disease? Yes or no?
Yes.
Less heart attack, less stroke, less diabetes? Do you want to spend less money on your food budget?
Yes.
Oh yes. Do you want to be more ecologically sensitive?
Yes.
Do you want to live longer?
Yes.
And do you want to easily meet your dietary recommendations? You want to be able to go and get what you need for your body easier? Well, then become a vegetarian. Right? Enjoy the benefits and delightful taste of a vegetarian diet. And one last thing. When we hear these talks about being a vegetarian, what usually happens is we go home and we empty all our cabinets and throw everything away. Go to the supermarket, veggie meat and fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to change now. Don't do that. Because what happens is in less than a week, you threw all that stuff away and you went to buy what you used to buy before. My advice is always, don't do everything you know you have to do. Do what you can do one step at a time. Think of what you're doing, and that way your change will be permanent and your lifestyle will be better. Thank you very much.